Good morning. So if you're tuning in, we've been talking about matters of road safety, and taking us through this conversation is a Group CEO of Safety Plus, Alfayo Otuke. Now, before we took a short break there, you were just giving some of the recommendations as to, what you'd want to see in as far as, reining in on rogue boda operators to ensure that we are safe on our roads. Other than registration at the chief's office.
All right.
Yeah.
That was one. Yes. I had more three I can mention. Number two is that I would urge the county government to take up the role more seriously. If you remember, the 2010 constitution that we are using now actually gave a lot of responsibility to the counties. It's only that most counties have not realized to date to take that responsibility to the next level. Road safety is a devolved function. Even when we talk about National Transport and Safety Authority, if you go to the fourth schedule, which gives a distribution of functions between national government and county, you will find road safety as a function is devolved to counties. But which county and what are they doing? Some of them are coming with funny things that are not even implementable. You have like Kisumu County, which said ladies should sit asunder. Kisumu is becoming notorious with all sort of things. Besides, when I was coming in, I heard you say about a woman who was
dragged by county council officials. We're still yet to discuss that. Maybe we need to rope you in on the conversation on the trending topics to just have a view of what you're saying in regard to that matter.
Yeah, so that is two. And number three, we need to train the bodas also. They need to go back to school. These guys, most of them have not gone to any driving school. Did you know, out of 100% of the bodas we have, which is about 15,000, we have got about only 60% who have been trained very well and who can ride. Around 70% don't even have anything to do with helmet. They have no uniform, they have no insurance, they have no driving permit to use those. It's chaotic. So we need to retrain them. And that's the point we will get them to award the permits. Last but not least, the government need to come up with robust policies which can be long-term sustained, not something for today and there is nothing for tomorrow.
Some radicals have spoken, especially on social media, after cases were highlighted of where, bodas ended up burning up someone else's car or even beating up, members of the public, being used as getaways during a crime. And radicals have come out and say, how about we outlaw boda operations?
No, we cannot outlaw, because that is the problem again with this the African governments, not even Kenya. You come up one morning, you say, today we don't have yellow buses. We would be having green buses. Here people run helter-skelter. Where do we get green? Where do we start? It's a country where we have chaos. So we can't wake up one morning and say, today we don't need bodas. Remember, this is somebody's husband. This is somebody's wife. And he has responsibilities. He is a father, children in school and all that. Secondly, these people have taken loans from banks to get these particular motorcycles. And again, it's a full-time job. It's a career. So you can't really wake up one morning, face it off. This is a country where even the government has said there is now a moratorium. There is no employment for the next 3 years. And here is a situation where saying, ile kidogo, remove it. So we can't do that. What we need to do is to come up with proper policies and try to implement them. The problem in this country, we don't implement. If you go to the library, you will find good laws. But do we implement them? Is it possible? Yes, it is. We have a case scenario. Michuki came in, went to the library, found the rules, implemented them. At once, everybody was asking, he could not do anything. I remember I was back home that time. Many people really missed the buses because they thought, what? You can't stop the whole country. But it was stopped and order was restored. So those people in those offices, and let me tell you something. I like my president. I have had occasions, especially when I was serving as the CEO of KTA, where we had one-on-one interventions. It means good, especially when we talk of road safety. But how about the ministers or the officers that he has entrusted this responsibility to? Are they as enthusiastic as the president? That is another thing. So if you get somebody on the top who has no passion like Michuki had, then there is a challenge, and the challenge will persist.
Now, you've talked about us having good policies.
Yes.
Situation core ground, totally
different. Yeah.
Different.
You're right.
Because if you were to take a survey, and I'm sure in your line of work, you know, just analyzing what is happening as far as the value chain is concerned, I don't know how many PSVs still retained their seatbelts. How many still have the dustbins inside? Now we're even talking about the uniforms. This day you can't tell. The only thing I think that has remained and is visible to be seen is a yellow line.
Yeah, the industry, my friend, is like we said, we use the word chaotic. It's satanic. It is something we cannot really, we don't know where God could maybe hit us one day, and then we come to realization. Right now there is COVID everywhere, and the government is, in attempt to at least save lives, has given some sort
safety
of
measures. You just jumped the gun there, because PSVs here. When we first confirmed our first case in March last year, we saw these measures coming into place, but now things are different. People are parking up in these vehicles, despite us riding the third wave. And stakeholders are saying they have been making losses, and they're done making losses. So kama wewe hutakaa na mwenzako, unalipia ki? You walk. Then how do we empower the public in that particular value chain?
Okay, I like to start from the first one. We lost it slightly. The rules that are there, traffic rules, are not kept by PSVs. Let's be honest in this. Except for yellow line, which you see and I see, the rest is not there. The drivers are no longer wearing uniform. There is no that...
we don't have the tag. We can't see the identification displayed as it was required.
Yes. The city belts are not there. If they're there, they are not working. If they are there, they are dirty. So everything is chaotic. And I think we need to stop for a while. Maybe, I don't know, whether Kenya would come to stop breathing for a few minutes. Then we start afresh again on the whole arrangement. But there's solutions we can provide. Like, for example, this chaos is mainly in towns. If you go to the local areas, it's easier to manage the matatus because their movement is predictable. Here, you can't predict the movement. I saw the other presenter give the traffic situation. Why do we give traffic situation? It's because it is unpredictable. Every few minutes it changes. And what makes it change? The same answer you gave, human error. So if a small person sneezes on the road, under traffic.
Yeah, I know, sneeze. When you sneeze, you hit the person, and so we're all snoozing at that point after sneezing.
It gets all chaotic.
Yes.
So coming back to the corona measures, nothing is being done now. I can agree with you that even schools that we closed the other day, did you remember the children?
Yes.
The children were supposed to at least have more trips so that we can be able to manage the sitting pattern. But did that happen? It did not. I monitored personally, and I was forced now to drive my kid to school as opposed to using school buses, because I could see the same trend where they're mobbed up. A seat meant for 3 or meant for 2 is now carrying 5, 6. Others seated, others sitting on their top. It is chaos. I don't know whether there's an officer here listening somewhere, sitting in a government office, who's supposed to be doing this. Just cross-checking and seeing, are our children carried properly according to the traffic regulations, which are there? Not that they are present, they are absent. They are there.
And not that we are making fresh ones.
Yes.
These ones are already in existence.
In existence.
Now come back to the PSV, because that is a concern that has been raised not just on mainstream media, but also on social media, with Kenyans saying, unajua, zungumza usinyamaze, you know. But in as much we have seen, I think beginning of this year, we had an employee of Equity Bank who was thrown out of a moving vehicle.
Yes.
On account of, I think there was an issue on the payment, and she lost her life.
Oh.
So we, as you've said, can we stop for a minute?
And reorganize ourselves.
And reorganize, because where we're going, personally, I'm not too sure we will survive.
I agree. As I told you, most of I mentioned something earlier, which is now coming up, the quality in terms of education of the people manning the industry, PSV, right from the owners. You know, the owners just jump into business. You know, there's somebody who has no any prior education or even training about transport. He just jumps into it. And what is the target or motivation? Profit. So he picks a driver who he doesn't know his profile, whether it's somebody who's killed people before or is somebody who doesn't know to drive. You have seen situations where even schools are employing matatu drivers to take children for a tour in Mombasa. And you know, the experience of highway driving is different from the just intra, which is within the city. Do you know these chaotic drivers cannot take bus to Mombasa? Did you know that? Yes. They would plunge into the sea. They could go into the forest. They cannot sustain a longer drive where the eyes and the humming of the engine is continuous. You know that humming is a lullaby. No, coming back to the question you are asking, this country needs a radical change. When NTSA was moved to Interior Ministry, I had happiness in my heart. I knew at least Matiang'i would do something. But I don't know what has really happened, that it is still like cool. Things are like, we are good. There's nothing bad when everything else is not going on well. Lastly, you and me have a responsibility. You know, government can't be everywhere. I regret that we lost life, especially when somebody was rising to the occasion to say something what he or she was justified to say, but a bad thing happened. What was the response? If you had Magavuri in this country, and I would like to say, may God rest his peace, eternal. It's being buried today, I hope. If we had a Magavuri here, that entire route would have been closed. Or even that particular matatu, if it's a circle, because we agree they are grouped into a circle, remove them from the road, because this is something the government must show everyone that we are very serious. Life has been lost, close, go home. It doesn't matter how many losses you make and how many people will be denied food, but it should happen. If we get those kind of readers who can radically face them, like Mijuki did, we keep on referring. Why don't we have a consistency in this implementation or enforcement? But police also are equally corrupt. They are
going there. The value chain is watered down. There's where we want to go, but in between here we have elements that are not for the vision. They're not there for the vision. Because public would also argue that we see, and unfortunately, a majority of Kenyans, if we were to open our lines, and I want to encourage you, if you have anything to say in regard to this conversation that you're talking about, the role that you and I can play to ensure that our roads are safe, and you're talking about the issue of public participation. Usinyamaze, zungumza, we are riding the COVID-19 wave. Are you being packed up in a public service vehicle more than, you know, we're told to social distance, but is it happening on ground? I have seen people lumped up together in a 14-seater and there is no social distancing. So, communications lines are open. We are speaking to Alfayo Otuke, who is a group CEO of Safety Plus, just trying to make us, you know, be looking at the basics in as far as road safety is concerned. And during COVID, we need to have that conversation. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1 News. Mine is at Regina Manyara, or rather at Ray Manyara, and at Jane Wamboy and Doreen Arange. Now we're talking about what Kenyans can do to ensure that they are safe on our roads. There's been campaigns, we've seen initiatives left, right, and center. But the broken chain, the authorities also,
yes,
they're not as straightforward. So what do we do?
Yes,
it feels as if it's a hopeless situation. But is it?
Yes, there is something we can do. First, let us understand the risk factors. The risk factor number one, which causes accidents, is drinking and driving. I am not sure whether drinking resumed, because at some time,
well,
it was...
well, please.
Maybe that's a story for another day.
Oh, please, I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Now, that is a killer number one, globally. If you look at the statistics of World Health Organization, you really get worried. Now, that's a human error. Do you need to drink and drive? There are simple rules on how you should do it. I'm talking about what can you and me do. True. So let us stop drinking and also driving. Number two, the second highest killer is speeding. Why should you speed? You have had this conversation in town that Subaru drivers.
Oh yeah, thank you. I think I need to give you a high five, because whenever I talk about Subaru drivers, people come out online, oh, unatuonea, la 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 la. But man, they're the most, they're the rokest drivers I've come. Thank you for validating me, Mr. Otuke, there on that.
You have a point. Because of research we have done previously, and you see which vehicles kill most. Subaru is number one.
Please, take that again. Let them hear.
All right.
There are some Subaru owners in this.
My small kid of 7 years is telling me when he grows up, he could drive a Subaru. In my fleet of cars, I don't have a Subaru. But how did he come up from this? He came from peer groups who are saying Subaru is supersonic. It moves the speed. That speeding is what kills Kenyans. You have heard of madness when children picked their father's car previous about 3 years and went riding with friends. What happened? All of them perished. So this trend of speeding is depriving a lot of Kenyans a lot of life. Let me tell you, what is the cost and impact of road accidents before I go to the third, fourth, and fifth?
The economic impact.
Or we'll come there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
All right. Number 3, Kira, is failure to wear seatbelt. And we have talked about it previously, even drivers, even PSV, apana, even private vehicles. People don't wear seatbelt. When I walk out of the house, out of the door, I always remind my son, put the seatbelt. It is you as a parent to prepare the future generation. To know we don't wear seatbelts because of traffic police. We wear them for our own safety. Number 4 killer is basically the nature of the road itself. And number 5 is something to do with these children, young children, whom you carry them in the front. We call them pressing there's a suitable seats meant mechanically for children.
Yes.
You plug them behind there so that in case of an impact, the kid does not hit against the dashboard.
Yeah.
That's another killer. If you look at all these, they are humanly paced.
Yeah.
It is me and you who can change the attitude. And then let me just wind it up. It is you and me to change our attitude.
Indeed. You and I to change our attitudes. Now, we were talking about this issue of the economic impact of road carnage.
All right.
We have never looked at it from a point of what do we lose?
You're right.
What do we lose?
I'll mention something. I keep on referring to the statistics of the World Health Organization. The reason is, most African countries, Kenya included, we don't have a good database. There are some people I hit and killed and buried, and that database is not received. How about our Muslim brothers? When somebody is hit and they have hours to bury, they bury quickly and then the government loses that particular data. So without data, how do you finance? How do you plan? A government cannot plan. But let's go back to see the impact. Right now, as we speak, 1.25 million people die globally due to traffic accidents. This is about 3,400 people per day. In this particular day, 3,400 people will lose life. You see,
across the world.
I want to give numbers so that you see the magnitude. Now, let's look locally. When a parent dies, there is a road that happens. This was a breadwinner. You know, I talked to a local MCA someday that you are a breadwinner and told me, where did you get me in a race winning bread? I told him, no, it's not about that.
Okay, please. That MCA, we will tutakutana pale nyuma ya tent. We discuss from which word, because we are talking about how we need to make Kenya better again. And there are a few things. Education and academia is a must, a qualification.
All right.
Yeah.
How do you, first of all, there is a way I would like maybe to mention this. How do you then know where accidents happen much than other, where you are likely to die easier? It's Africa. Let me mention a certain important fact for the listener. About 50% of the cars or vehicles are in Africa. 50% of the vehicles are in Africa. But 90% of accidents happen in Africa. So in Africa, you have 26% chances of dying out of 100%.
On the road?
On the road. When you are in Europe, for example, it's more safer, about 9%. When you are in Southern Asia, the Southern Pacific, and the East Mediterranean, it's about 17%. But when you go to Americas, both North and South, it's about 15%. So chances of you dying in Africa are highest. But our motoring level is the lowest. That is something we need to survey and know why. But it's a story for another day. Now, the impact of road accidents on our economy is huge. Look at the cost that we have to pay into hospital for people who have been capacitated, who are there in the hospital. Yeah. There is a time in Machakos, the governor there had selected a new full ward for the patients of border borders, for patients of accidents. You see, that is huge. If you look at the outstretching of even hospital beds, they are finished because of accidents that emanate from the road. And lastly, that loss that comes to the family. So the magnitude is about, under the UN Health Organization, they level it at 3% of the national gross domestic product, and then up to about 5% of the gross national product. Yeah. So that's how huge it is into our economy. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to look at a feedback that we're getting on Twitter in regard to our conversation, as usual.
Yes.
Subaru drivers are up in arms again, but I'm reverting to the fact that I didn't say it this time. It was a guest, and the guest is within the value chain, and they have done and conducted surveys as to which brands, or let me say, vehicles out there are involved in this accidents as such. And we all know even what the insurance survey has to say. When you are insuring a Subaru, you pay a little bit more in premium, because also your insurer is there to consolidate funds and make profits, and they're likely to end up paying for your repairs or something, or giving you another car. Now, Peter Onesma says, annoying to see border operatives invading hospitals to flush out suspect patients and lynch them. That is in regard to the issue of, rogue border operators and the fact we need to rein them in. At William Moburi, he is an avid follower of Good Morning Kenya, there on Twitter. Live following the show from Matamu about road safety, I congratulate Malindi, Watamu Matatu drivers. Kudos, they're following COVID protocols. Matatu iko na sheria za mishuke, and the passengers always smile. This is in regard, maybe he's just high-fiving the Malindi Watamu Matatu drivers for adhering to the COVID rules, as well as adhering to the Mishuki rules that had been set up before. So Kenyans, they're coming in to say, we are in a precarious situation as far as border operators are concerned. Now, to better understand, we have had you on our show. We'd want to know now the role that a Safety Plus is playing when it comes to road safety. All right.
Yeah, before we start on that one, let's quickly in a second look at the response by Subarus. You see, what is a fact remains a fact. And I think the government need to rein in on this Subaru thing, because why should we have vehicles that are supersonic in speed and are allowed to our country if they cannot mitigate? They need to be subjected to traffic rules, and actually the PSV rules, let them have speed governors, because we're killing many people. They're not only them dying. It is even innocent Kenyans who are also on the road. So the government should take a serious intervention at the manufacturer level. And then again, the Subarus are not bad as a vehicle. It is those people who drive them. The petrol heads. All right. Now, let me go back to Safety Plus. So that we can understand Safety Plus as we come to a close. You have said very heavy terms there, especially now Subarus. We'll deal with them on social media, but now, Safety Plus, let's understand where you're coming from, Mr. Otuke. All right. Safety Plus is an organization, a private organization, and essentially the mandate is to give supplemental support to the government. As I told you, I was involved in the formation of NTSA at the initial level, and I had that passion to make sure that Kenya is safe. So that passion, I've carried the dream into another level by forming an organization that looks into many things. One, we have about 400 schools now. We have formed road safety clubs, because we do believe strongly that it is at that level we will nurture good ambassadors. We also do training for drivers. We do training for transport managers. And we do also put road signs. We do road safety policy. And actually, currently, we are doing one for KBC.
Very well said. Our guest this morning, a Group CEO of Safety Plus, Mr. Alfayo Otuke. They're quite heavy. It's a wrap in as far as matters of road safety is concerned. We can get further details on our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke.